Hello, Isabella. Welcome. Not sure who that was, but I hope you're okay. While we're waiting on the rest of the group to join, does anyone want to tell us about their injury clip that they found?
Mine, their lip bust real bad.
What kind of sport was it?
Basketball.
Basketball. Who was playing?
I don't know.
Ooh, a bloody one then, huh?
Kinda, yeah.
Do you say your name Isabella or Isabella?
This is my sister's
Oh,
Chromebook,
okay, what's your name?
Mihaela.
Mihaela. All right. Got it now. Who else? Who else found a injury clip? Did I see someone in the Miller family raise their hands? No. All right. If you did and you want to tell us about it, that'd be awesome. Ryden, did you find an injury clip?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, share mine.
Did you see it too, Micah? What was it?
I don't know.
I don't think she saw it.
Mm.
You know how much you're back?
No, right.
Right. We're still missing some, so we'll give it just a couple more minutes. But if you did find a clip and you want to tell us about it, Ryden.
So, yeah, I was watching a video, and it's about wrestling, and the dude kicked him so hard that he broke his own leg, both bones in his leg,
Whoa.
and it wrapped around his leg, and they were tangled up.
Oof. Was it an old video or a newer one?
2017, 2018.
Anyone else have a good video they want to talk about?
I saw one about hockey where his jugular vein got cut by one of their skis, and blood was, yeah, and so they had a paramedic that fixed it, and he had 13 stitches in his neck.
In his neck, 13 stitches. Oh my goodness. Lane, did you find a video? Oh, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself so I can hear?
This guy had to have 6 stitches on his nose, and he still played.
What sport?
I think it was football.
Whoa. We'll give it just 2 more minutes. Corbella, did you find a video that you want to tell us about?
No, because I forgot we had to do homework.
That's okay.
Raylan's scared to talk, but she's actually had a pretty bad sports injury. She broke her finger one time playing softball.
Oh. Was it trying to catch a ball?
No, she was batting, and the pitch came in right where her finger was, and it broke her finger.
Oh my gosh.
And Layla, the youngest one, she was in the pool. She, when we were practicing one time, got hit with a bat and had to have stitches in her head.
Oh my gosh.
One time we were playing catch and my brother threw a baseball at my eye.
Wait, give me that one. Which one? Second boy, give me the one.
Hold on one second. Can you say that again, Corbella?
We were playing catch outside because we have 5 acres, so we have a lot of room to play catch. And my brother threw the ball to me, and he like missed. And instead of me catching it, it hit my eye.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you have a black eye afterward?
It was a really big one.
Ooh. Yikes. All right, we may still have a few more that join us, but we'll go ahead and get started. So if you're on and you want to share your video, please do. I have everybody muted right now, but there'll be probably parts where we'll ask for your feedback or your questions, so you can just unmute yourself and speak then. And I am going to also, on your top right, that's where it is on mine, there's an option of how to change your view. So you can change it to where you see everybody at once or where you see the speaker bigger. So you can kind of play with that. But otherwise, mute button is on the bottom left if you want to unmute yourself and you have something to say. I am going to kick it over to Dr. Volberding from Oklahoma State University Athletic Training Department to share with us her career and some interesting things about that field.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you guys for letting me come in and talk to you. I love hearing already your guys' videos and your experiences, because I'm going to show you some pictures and maybe another video a couple of videos at the end that you're going to say, some of that looks a little bit familiar to either videos that you found or experiences that you've had. So I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint just to kind of help you guys get through the material so I can kind of talk about it. But I want you guys really to be able to and ask the questions that you have about it. So the first thing is, I have a question for you guys. Who in here has been around somebody who does sports medicine? Just raise your hand. Who knows sports medicine? Anybody? A couple? Okay. Has anybody worked with an athletic trainer? One couple of you guys? Okay, so that's good that you guys kind of have a little bit of understanding of what we're going to talk about. But I'm an athletic trainer and I lead our athletic training department. So I am a PhD, I am a certified athletic trainer, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. But my story starts actually in a small town in Montana. I grew up in Montana. At the time, we didn't have a ton of really cool science, technology, math programs like you guys have here. And so I had to go out and find different ways to learn about the STEM fields. And so I started in school. I worked around a sports medicine physician. I worked around a physical therapist, and I was like, wow, I'm really interested in medicine and I'm really interested in the medical field, but I love being around active individuals. And so my junior year in high school, we got our first athletic trainer at the high school. And I started talking to her. I obviously got injured because you guys don't know me very well, but I'm a klutz. And so obviously I was going to get hurt. Right. And so I went to see her. And when she started talking about what she did, the little light bulb went on in my head and said, hey, I can deal with science. I can use my math skills, and I can help people. And I can also be around those active populations. So that's kind of where my story started, right? Small town, Montana. So let me get here and share my screen and we will kind of get started because sometimes it's easier to visualize. So when I decided to go to college, I decided that I wanted to go as far away as possible, right? That was who I was. I wanted to go out. I, in high school, went to Boston for a youth leadership forum on medicine. So high school kids who were really interested in science and technology and medicine, we got together for a week. So I was lucky to do something like that. I then went to Boston again for another summer to a high school science and technology program. And then actually before I went to college, I had the opportunity to go overseas to Oxford University in England to a science and technology program over there. So you guys are really lucky. You're starting way earlier than I even got to do, but there's lots of programs like this out there to help you kind of foster that love of science and technology. So I went to undergrad at Boston University. I have a degree in athletic training. I then went to Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech is in the ACC. We're this awesome little bumblebee up here. That's our mascot at Georgia Tech, right? And I worked with the football team there in swimming and diving. I got my master's degree in sports medicine. And once I graduated there, I went to Seton Hall and I worked women's basketball. And so I worked big time women's basketball at Seton Hall for a couple of years. And then I decided I wanted to move a little bit closer to home. I don't know if Kansas is really that much closer to home than New Jersey, but hey, we'll go with it, right? So I went to the University of Kansas and I worked women's basketball there. Now, throughout my time at Seton Hall and my time at the University of Kansas, I was constantly working with students. And what I realized is I really like working with students and I like working with you guys. And so I decided instead of being a clinical athletic trainer, which took me around the world. Like, guys, I got to go to Italy and the Bahamas, and I've been to 49 out of 50 states, a lot of it because of athletic training. But I decided I wanted to teach instead. And so when I was at the University of Kansas, I got my degree and I got my PhD. And then I came here to Oklahoma State. So we started in Stillwater. I was in Stillwater for 5 years. And then when we moved to a master's degree program, we moved over here to the medical school in Tulsa. And so that's where we've been since 2015. So that's a little bit of my story about how I started young and thinking about science and technology and kind of blended that into being an athletic trainer. But now I really kind of want to talk a little bit about what it means to be an athletic trainer and what athletic training is. So first of all, this is not the greatest video, but it shows you what an athletic trainer shouldn't do. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, I'll tell you what the story of it here is. The person who's coming out to help the patient who's rolling around on the ground, guess what he does? He trips and falls and kicks his patient accidentally in the face. So whoopsies, we don't want to further injure our patients while we're treating them. So hopefully all my videos work. If not, we'll try another way. Yeah. All right, so what is athletic training? Athletic training is a really cool field where we get to do a lot of different things. First and foremost, as much as I love to run out on the fields and help people, I don't want people to get hurt. And so we try and prevent injuries, be it either through stretching, through taping, through strength and conditioning. But really what our goal is to make people better, keep them healthy, and keep them doing what they love. Now, a lot of times we think about athletics and athletic training only dealing with sports teams, and that's actually not the case. Anybody who likes to run and participate in different sort of recreational activities, they can see an athletic trainer because we can work with them on that prevention. People working jobs in the industrial setting, they can use an athletic trainer because they're active, they're moving around. So we try and prevent injuries. My favorite cartoon always is when I go for a run in the morning, and I literally think about this every day, should I stretch And should I stretch my dog's legs before we go for a run? What do you guys think? Does a dog need to be stretched before we go run? Probably not, right? But we should be stretching, because stretching is part of preventing an injury, right? So I see a few puppies down in these videos here. So afterwards, you can see if you need to stretch your puppy's hamstrings or something. So the next part of being an athletic trainer is we have to recognize, evaluate, and provide care when an injury does occur. Because the cool thing about being an athletic trainer, rather than a lot of other healthcare professionals, is a lot of times I'm there when the injury occurs. So I heard somebody talking about the hockey player who cut his throat. And you said there was a paramedic there who ran out onto the ice. That actually wasn't a paramedic. That was the athletic trainer who ran out on the ice to stop the bleeding, to get him off the ice, and to get him the treatment that he needed. So we're there when the injuries occur, and we can evaluate them to decide what we need to do to get them better and either return to the game or the activity that they're doing, or if we need to do more rehabilitation. So this guy here, he's evaluating an ankle right in the clinical setting. But it might be on the sideline, right? It might be like this young lady who's up here evaluating a wrist injury, or on the field, getting our player off of the field after spraining a knee. But we also might, in an emergency situation, have to spine guard our patient if we think that there's a head or neck or back injury. So again, we're really unique in the fact that we are there when the injuries occur and can help do treatment and evaluation right away to hopefully get them back to playing and doing what they want to do. So if they don't go right back into play, and after the activities occurred, we are also going to do some reconditioning and rehabilitation. So we're kind of like a physical therapist, if you've ever been to see a physical therapist, but we're really all about, if somebody does get injured, how can we get them back to doing what they want to do? So that's the kind of hands-on skills that we do, but we also have a couple different responsibilities. And guys, we're going to talk more about some of this stuff here in a second. We also have to think about how we fit into the healthcare organization and administration. Right now, obviously, the reason why we all can't be here in person is there's COVID, and there's athletic trainers who are frontline workers who are out there helping with testing and helping patients get better and monitoring employees. And that's part of being an athletic trainer. You're a part of a sports medicine team, but you're also part of a healthcare team. And also as part of that is professional development and responsibility. It's our job to advocate for our patients and advocate for our profession. Now, when it comes to being an athletic trainer, there's a couple things you have to have from a personal characteristic. You have to have stamina. And what I mean by stamina is we may work some long hours, we may go on the road for long road trips, but we've got to be able to be excited and energetic at all times to be able to do what's best for our patient. Like any other healthcare provider, we need to have empathy. Who here knows what empathy is? Anybody know what that means?
Empathy is like whenever you actually feel bad for someone, because if you don't feel sad for someone, like if they get hurt, then you're unempathetic. Right.
So when you got the baseball to the face, right? You wanted to be empathetic. You wanted to say, I'm sorry you're having a really bad day, and I'm sorry you're hurting. How can I help you, right? How can I help you get better? You have to have a sense of humor, because let me tell you guys, we have the funniest things that occur, right? People come in with silly injuries. People come in telling us silly stories. You have other clinicians who slip and fall and kick their patients. I mean, you got to have a little bit of sense of humor, right? But we also have to be able to talk to people. Now, when it comes to being a healthcare provider, you have to talk to a bunch of different people. So I have to be able to talk to my patient, who may be like you guys, or an adult. I may have to talk to mom and dad. I have to talk to a coach, a parent. So I have to have a really good ability to communicate with people. And I got to be curious. One thing about medicine that is always consistent is that it's changing, right? So I have to always want to go out and ask questions of how can I be a better clinician? How can I provide better care to my patients? Or, hey, I've never seen that injury ever occur in my life. I probably need to go do some research so I can do the best job I can. And then you have to be ethical. You have to be willing to do what's right and do what's best. So as I talked about here a couple minutes ago, there's a few different settings that athletic trainers can work in. College sports. So that's where I worked for all of my career until I went into academics. Professional sports. So when you're watching those games on TV, I always joke, right? So here's the athletic training sense of humor. The athletic trainer, when somebody gets hurt, is the khaki booty that you see on TV. We never get our faces on TV. It's not fair. We only get our booties, right? So professional sports, high schools, maybe see them in a clinic with a physician, but rodeo. So I have a friend that works with PBR. He travels the country providing care to our PBR athletes, right? So we have a lot of different places athletic trainers can be. But really, from the NCAA perspective, this is a great one. Athletic trainers will always go overboard to help our injured student athletes. Our goal is to make everybody healthy and happy and able to do what they want to do. All right. So part of being an athletic trainer is evaluating injuries. And when we evaluate an injury, we talk about it from an injury assessment piece. So we go through anatomy, asking the patient questions, palpating them, touching them, right? Who's all been to the doctor and they automatically go and touch what you say hurts, right? Automatically, we like to push on things to make them hurt more. Why are we pushing on them to make them hurt more?
Because if they hurt more in one spot than another spot, then that's going to be where they're hurt.
Yep, exactly, right? So we've got all these different things that we do to help us identify what's going on. So we have some pretty specific steps that we take to evaluate an injury. We ask questions. So our history, okay? We ask about our mechanism. What were you doing when it happened? That's usually where you get the sense of humor, because my favorite one as a clinician that I heard, it was from a swimmer, okay? So swimming, that's what he did in college to get a scholarship. Do you want to know how he broke his leg? He was riding a bicycle down the stairs. That's never a good idea, right? Never a good idea for anybody, but let alone a swimmer who probably isn't the most coordinated people, right? So we ask questions about how did it happen and when it happened. And then we ask what type of pain they have. Is it sharp? Is it dull? Does it go away? What do you do when it goes away to make it go away? And then my favorite pain question out there. We've all been asked, right? On a scale of 0 to 10, how much pain are you in? Now, what that 10 means is very, very different for everybody, right? So a 10 might be for a person, I stubbed my toe. That's the worst pain I've ever felt. It's a 10. So I like to use the scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being you've been attacked by a bear, you've lost an arm, and you're on your way to the hospital. That's a 10. And you know what? People still tell me they have a 10 when they've stubbed their toe, even though I just explained that it's a bear attacking them in the woods. But everything is a little bit different. So that's our history. It's everything that our patient tells us. We then go to what we can see. So when I look at a patient, I think about how they walked into the athletic training room or to the clinic, right? I see, are they limping? Are they hopping around? Is their leg grossly deformed? And I'm going to show you some pictures of some really grossly deformed things later, right? Because that's really all it is. It's all about the gore, right? But is it red? Is it bruised? What kind of facial expressions are they making? They're saying, I'm fine, it's no big deal. And you know that it hurts just by their facial expression. So those are all things that I'm inspecting or observing. So again, we're looking to see, is it huge compared to the other side? So we want to look at it from an outside perspective. We're then going to do the pokey poke, right? Again, sometimes we maybe poke a little bit too hard, but we're going to palpate our bones. We're going to use landmarks. We're going to palpate the joints. And then we're going to palpate our soft tissue. We're seeing where it hurts, and we're going to compare it to the other side. Why do you think I compare to the other side? Why do we compare how it hurts or how it looks to the other body part?
So you can see what's normal for that person.
Right. No, that's perfect, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's bodies are different. And so if I have another arm that says, hey, this is normal for this person, I can get a better idea. Because I can't compare a 10-year-old kid to a 30-year-old professional offensive lineman. Your guys' arms are going to look a little bit different unless you're on steroids or you were bit by a radioactive spider I don't know about, right? Somebody in here, Spider-Man? But we have to palpate to the other side. So after we've looked at them, we've heard them, we've looked at them, we've touched them, we now need to look at how they move. So we do a movement assessment. Okay, and this is going to look at how the muscles are functioning. We're going to ask them to move. We're going to test their strength. We're going to crank on them to see how their ligaments and their stability is. But we're looking at how structurally sound that ligament is. Now, one thing we talk a lot about with movement assessment is range of motion. Okay. So hopefully my video works here because I found an extra character that's going to help me describe flexion and extension movement.
Hey guys, since we're not there in person, I thought I might borrow a Lego from Jackson to demonstrate a couple of our different motions. Okay, so you see my little rebel from Star Wars here, okay, rebel fighter. He's going to show you how to flex and extend his legs. So to flex, he's going to bend his legs forward like that. And to extend, he's going to bring them back and go all the way back. Now, we can't really extend all that way in our hips, but we can do that in our shoulders. So just like we did in the legs, we can start at neutral with our hands by our side, and we can move forward into flexion and push back into extension.
All right, so what I want everybody to do is I want everybody to stand up for me. Okay? And I want everybody to start with their arms at their sides. Okay? And I want to see how much, what did I say motion this was? Is this flexion or extension? It's flexion, right? So let's see how far we can flex our shoulders. Oh, perfect. All right, let's see it. Nice. All right, now let's see how far back we can reach into extension. Okay, very nice, right? So those are motions that I might ask my patient to do when I'm doing an evaluation, right? Obviously, we don't have the same motion that the Rebel Star thingy-mabobber Lego dude has, right? He's got way too much motion to actually function in real life. But what we can do is we're looking at how the body moves. Now, if you think about how you moved, was it nice and smooth? Did you have any pain? Did you hear any clicking? Okay, all of that comes into play during our evaluation.
Guys,
Whoop,
we're not
whoop,
there in
whoop, whoop.
person.
There we go. All right, so then the last piece of our evaluation is we actually go through and look to see how the nerves are functioning. We compare one side to the other and say, can you feel it? Does it feel the same? We're gonna ask them to move certain muscles. And then who's been to the doctor and they've done the little knee tap to see if you kick? Right? So that's a reflex. So we're gonna test our reflexes of our patient just to see and just to make sure that everything's functioning neurologically. So guys, that's the evaluation process, but now let's talk about some injuries because that's what we're all here for, right? We want to see the videos and the pictures of the gross stuff. So the first one we're going to talk about here, and hopefully this video shows because it's awesome. Guys, this is in slow motion and I want you to watch his left ankle. Oh, and it's not going to work. So
Can you, maybe if you try sending me a link or doing it on an outside browser, I wonder if that might work.
Sure. All right. I'm going to come out of this here real quick. Actually, you know what? I can just find another video here real quick. YouTube's the best, right? That's where you guys all found your stuff. That's where I find all my great videos. All right.
Once you find it, you'll probably have to share which screen. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yes, I found a great one. I'm digging it already. I'm excited about it. All right. So skateboarding. If you guys don't know, skateboarding is, yeah, it's a dangerous sport. We should be careful when we're doing this. So let's try this one. All right, can you guys see the YouTube video up? Yep. All right. So let's watch this guy come down and then in slow motion, that is what we call, right, and this is just the first fun ones, right? An ankle inversion mechanism of injury, right? So obviously, he probably had some serious sprain or fracture issues associated with it. But again, just a slow motion, the start of where we're gonna go with some of these injuries, right? And this one that I was gonna try and show you, for some reason it doesn't like to work today. It was a slow motion injury and it looks awful, but it really wasn't that bad. So contusions, it's perfect. It's great that we're going straight from skateboarding injuring their ankle to skateboarding injuring their booty, right? So this is what we call a contusion or a bruise. Now, what we know, we call this purpleness ecchymosis, okay? And it's not the way it's spelled down below. It's ECCHYMOSIS. Okay. So bruising is considered ecchymosis when we write it in our medical documentation. So this is a pretty awesome bruise that's gonna hurt for quite a while. And then as it starts to heal, it's gonna turn greenish and then yellowish and then it's gonna go away. We have fractures, right? So fractures are broken bones. Guys, these are things that we deal with as athletic trainers on the field, on the court. So over here, this bone right here in our arm is called the humerus. This is a humeral fracture up in the top corner. This down here is a really bad day for everybody, right? Fun fact about this, he caught it, scored a touchdown, perfect, right? He finished the play. But what happened down here is he actually broke both of his lower leg bones, his tibia and his fibula. right? So what did we do? Athletic trainers go out on the field, we call for the cart, we get our splint bag, we splint it, and we send him off because he's gonna have to have surgery to put it back together. So this isn't his x-ray up here, but this is a fractured fibula that needed a plate to be put in there to keep that fracture healed. Another type of fracture that we see a lot in athletics is called a Jones fracture. So a Jones fracture is, if you look at your foot and you look at your pinky toe, if you go down the length of it, on the side of your foot, you see a little bit of a bump. We call that the base of the fifth metatarsal. So look at your toe, look at your foot, kind of find that bump. A Jones fracture is the base of the fifth fracturing, okay? Now, a lot of broken bones or fractures will heal on their own with immobilization, so a cast or a walking boot. But for some little reason, this bugger does not like to heal. Doesn't have really good blood flow, and we know blood flow is essential for healing. So what we do is we send them on to our orthopedic surgeon, and they put this really long screw into a foot. And they put that fracture, so you can see right here, where that red arrow is, that's the fracture line. Okay. Now, somebody was talking about an ankle dislocation. Let's just talk about what it looks like, right? So again, I should warn you guys, some gross pictures, right? But what this is an ankle fracture, combination of the tibia and fibula, and it's dislocated, meaning it's rotated around. It doesn't look the way it's supposed to, right? Because his toe shouldn't be pointing up, it should be pointing down. So again, we're gonna immobilize, and we're gonna refer on. This is not something that they can come back from. Now, other injuries that you guys probably hear a lot about are ACL injuries. So let's watch this video that's gonna talk a little bit about ACL tears, but then we're also gonna show a couple clips of some ACL and knee dislocations, because why not?
ACL injuries, and I found a few videos that I thought would be really interesting for you to see. So first, we're going to talk about what an ACL tear actually is. Again, we're looking at the anatomy. This is our PCL, our ACL is right here. This is our tibia and our femur. Now, when we see an ACL injury, we can get a dynamic knee valgus, or a force from the outside that can combine with rotation to cause the ACL to tear. So here we see the hip rotating internally, so turning in, our tibia rotating out, and our foot rotating in. So what we see here is 3 different bones or joints, and they're rotating in a different direction. And that's going to place stress on that ACL right there. It's going to tear right along. All right, so that is an ACL tear. All right. Now we can have ACL tears, but we can also have them combined with other injuries. So I have 2 examples of some pretty significant ACL and knee dislocation. So the first one's going to be Sean Livingston, and we're going to watch this one real quick.
Start. Not much has gone right for Coach Dunleavy's ball club. Freddie Bickerstaff at the other end. He'd love to get the first one.
So we're going to be watching right in this area. And right in here, we're going to see a steal, and he's going to run down the court, and he's actually going to dislocate his knee. So Sean Livingston comes up, and he comes up, and if you look at that knee, okay? So let's reverse that just slightly, okay? So we're going to see that he comes down in a really awkward spot and causes his knee to dislocate. Okay? So that's one example of a knee dislocation, right? Now the second one, this is Willis McGahee. He also dislocated his knee. We're gonna just watch here. He's gonna be the running back.
Okay, he's gonna catch the ball here, and if you look to see, he got hit right in the front of his knee. Now I believe we can get a little bit of a, so we see the athletic trainer out there, we see his knee is not in a good spot. Okay, athletic trainers always putting their booty on TV, that's really what we all know, right? But let's see if we can find the replay of the injury. So we see it, he's hit from the front, and look at how that angle of his knee is. Right, so that is just an example of another mechanism. So Sean Livingston's was pretty much a straight down. The video showed the rotation, and then this one is a hyperextension injury right to his knee. So if you look there, you can see his knee hyperextend and everything gets torn in the knee. All right, so that's kind of the idea of an ACL injury. ACLs are there to protect against rotation and shifting in the knee. So let's move to the upper extremity. We have our clavicle. So our clavicle is this S-shaped bone that connects our chest to our upper extremity. So if you feel along your clavicle, you can kind of feel the curve. And that point on the curve, that's where typically when you fall on an outstretched arm, you fracture. So if you look at this picture right here, you can see the two bones of the clavicle have separated, okay? So that person's gonna come over and they're gonna have a big old skin protrusion, right? It probably won't go through the skin, but they're gonna have a big old weird bump right here. Now this one over here, they've reduced it. You can still see the line in the fracture. Biceps tendon. So everybody make a Popeye muscle, right? You feel it, you have our biceps right here. I can actually rupture my tendon and have all that whole muscle that goes from my elbow all the way to my shoulder ball up right here. Okay, so that's what's happening. That's a biceps tendon rupture. I can have a torn tendon in my finger. So this is mallet finger. So they've lost the ability to extend. Okay. People live with this all the time. Not a big deal. And then I can also dislocate a finger, right? So you see over here, that finger's pointing that way when it should be pointing forward. And this one is out of joint right here. Okay. So a couple different injuries. Now let's talk about what we're gonna do to get them better, right? So that's that treatment and rehabilitation piece. So we may use modalities, hot packs, cold packs, ultrasound, E-stem, whirlpools, all sorts of different ways to utilize outside mechanisms to get them better. I like to combine all of that with functional pieces. Flexibility and range of motion, strength and muscular endurance, proprioception, everything builds together to get them back feeling better. So when we talk about flexibility, we're again going back to that idea of range of motion, right? But we know that if things aren't moving the right way or they don't have the same amount of range of motion, they're going to be predisposed to getting injured, right? So we're going to want to stretch. Now, not everybody has the capability to stand there and stretch in that mechanism, and that's okay. That's a little excessive. So we've got to think about what does their body look like though, right? If they've got bigger muscles, they're not going to be able to have as much range of motion. If they're really, really tight in their tendons, they're not going to have as much range of motion. Okay. So we have a couple different types of stretching. So we've got ballistic stretching, which is just bouncing, right? I just try and touch my toes and I bounce, 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 bounce. Now, understand that bouncing for stretching is actually going to make you more sore than regular stretching. So who's stretched before they've done an activity? Yeah? Does everybody stretch before they do activity? Yeah? Should you stretch before? The answer is it's okay you can do what you want before, but the best time to stretch is actually after you work out. Okay? Because our muscles are warm, they're more likely to make changes in length. So we have static stretching, and that's what we usually think of when we think of stretching, right? You sit down, you touch your toes, But guys, if I'm gonna stretch like this right here for my hamstring, I've got to hold it for 2 minutes. So imagine counting to 120, holding right there, and that's how I actually can lengthen the muscle. Nobody has time for that stuff. So we utilize other techniques. We've got PNF stretching, and what we like to utilize here is the contract relax. And I'm going to show you an example of this here in a second. But contract relax allows you to push. They're going to contract against you and relax, and you'll be able to push them a little bit further. We also have dynamic warm-ups, which is what we recommend anymore, which allows you to get your heart rate up, start your motions, and just swing through the range of motion as you're running around. So let's look at some examples of some stretching. So again, I have Jackson here who's going to help me demonstrate this.
Straight leg raise. So we're going to have him relax. We're going to wiggle his legs until he relaxes, okay, or giggles, whichever's first. And then relax. We're going to lift the leg up. Now, did you see how Jackson's knee bent? That means he's a little tight, so we're going to straighten that leg out, and we're going to back it down just a little bit. Okay, right? So that's regular static stretching. Now, if I want to do PNF stretching, relax, Jackson. Okay, I'm going to bring him up to that position, and then I'm going to say, Jackson, push your heel down in my hand. Push, 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 relax. And then look how much further his leg goes. Push, 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 push. Good. And relax. And look how much more range of motion he has in his hamstring.
So which way was I able to get more range of motion? Static, kind of holding him there, or PNF? The first one or the second one?
The second one.
The second one. The reason why is his brain allowed that hamstring to relax. Obviously, the cat in the background was not entertained. Marshmallow just joined for giggles' sake here. All right. All right. So before we get to the taping, because I know that's what everybody's excited about, right? Everybody got their tape, right? So let's go ahead and watch just one more set of videos just to see what else we might see, because you guys might have utilized some of these in your when you guys were looking for your injuries as a precursor. So let's see, let's go back, and I'm going to share my screen one more time here for the videos. Obviously, I went with the NBA's worst videos of 2017. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out which injuries we're thinking about. Okay, so let's back that up just slightly. Okay, so what do we think that one was?
We can't see it. You may have to reshare.
it. Ah, there we go. How about now? Can you see that screen? Technology, man. You'd think after 2 months of teaching online, I'd get it, but some days. All right, so woo, that's a hyperflexion injury. So we're going to see it here again. Obviously, we've had a really bad day, right? That's one. So that was Marcus Morris. His brother was on the other team, but that's not a good day, right? So that's not great. So let's look at what else was in the worst injuries of 2019 or 2017. Okay, so again, this one, that's a dislocated kneecap. Okay, so I don't think he's saying I'm not okay, right? We've got that, so we'll see him come up. And of course they show the block, but they don't actually show the injury, but he dislocated his kneecap. So think about that little bone on top of your knee, and it slides out. But he was able to walk off. Now the other guy, he's not walking off the court. All right. Never good on a breakaway when there's video, right? Boing! So his face hit the ground, right? Not great. So that's a concussion when his face hit. Okay. You can see bleeding, right? It's got all sorts of he might have lost a tooth in there too. Let's see what else we got. Did a little bit too much razzle dazzle and then proceeded to eat the floor. Not great. All right. So as you guys can see, there's lots of different ways you can get injured playing sports. The big thing is that you have to just figure out as an athletic trainer what that mechanism is. So I'm always constantly watching what's going on, right? And it's not always the ones that are right in front of you that get hurt. Sometimes it's people on the other side of the court, so you can't just watch the ball. You've got to watch the entire view, the entire court, to figure out how to determine the injury itself. All right, so everybody find your tape. Everybody got their tape? All right. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video of how to tape a wrist, and then we will kind of talk a little bit more and see what we can do. But the big thing is, after I show you, we're going to work on tearing the tape, because that is by far the hardest part of taping. So let me show you the video here of taping of a wrist, and then we will. Okay. So again, I borrowed Jackson.
Guys, this is my buddy Jackson. He's going to help me show you how to tape a wrist with the tape that you guys got in your med kit. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our different types of tape. We've got pre-wrap, which you guys don't have, and we're going to use on our super hairy people. Jackson, are you hairy? No. You guys probably aren't hairy either, so we don't have to worry about this too much. And then we're going to use our 1.5" white tape. Now this stuff can be kind of tricky. It can be kind of tough to tear. Okay, so Jackson, you want to try tearing the tape? Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to hold it between our two fingers, and we're going to tear it like that. Jackson, you want to show them how to tear? Two fingers out, and you're going to tear just like that. Good job. All right. So that's one thing you guys can do is practice tearing tape. And Jackson's being silly, like you guys are probably at home with your tape. All right, so now we're gonna focus in and we're gonna tape a wrist. So Jackson, can you give me an arm? Make a fist. All right, so we're gonna take our tape and we're gonna put it right on top of the skin. Now the key here, guys, is not to get the tape too tight. If it gets too tight, you know what happens? He loses blood flow and his hand turns purple. Now that can be cool in some ways, but it's not really good in a medical reason. So we're gonna keep your hand with a fist, okay? Keep your hand straight here, and we're gonna overlap by half, okay? Again, tearing that tape, nice and simple. Jackson, kind of lift your hand up, see? And so we're gonna take and go halfway up the hand. So make a fist again. And then we're gonna put one more in there, okay? Now, we don't ever go continuous, because continuous goes too fast. But look here, it restricts a little bit of motion. It feels supportive. Do you feel it kind of squeezing your arm a little bit? All right. You can fly. All right, so Jackson's obviously ready to go, and that's how you tape a wrist.
All right, guys. So the big thing when it comes to taping is, like I said, the tearing of the tape. So everybody grab their tape. Okay, everybody grab, oh, look, we've already got a nice wrist tape down on the bottom. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. All right, so let's pull a little bit of tape out. Let's put our 2 pointer fingers about a finger width apart. So you can kind of see here. You can see my thumbs are on the other side. Now the key here is you're gonna pull the tape in one direction and push the roll in another direction. I know. Oh, nice. I'm looking at it. I'm seeing people so keep tearing. Keep tearing. And guess what? If you try and tear it and it bends and it's not terrible, guess what I do? I just take out a little bit more tape, try again. It's okay, right? So see, I just bent that. I wasn't paying attention and I just bent that. So what do? I pull out a little bit more tape and I tear again. Okay. So the principles of taping really come down to overlapping by half, right? So we cover the tape, we tear it, and then we overlap half of it and go around again, right? All right, so making sure that we're tearing every time we go around, because if we do it too tight, guys, their hand blood supply will go around and their fingers will go numb and they're not gonna be able to do what they need to do. Nice job. I'm liking these pairs that have already got their wrist tapes. Look, we've got one that's taping your own wrist, okay? So the biggest thing and the thing that makes you look the best is that snap while you're tearing tape, right? You get a nice, crisp, clean tear, right? So guys, I've practiced taping for a really, really long time. And so that's why it's kind of easy for me, but all it takes is just practice, okay? So let me see those of you guys who taped your wrist. Let me see them. All right, nice, very nice, good job. All right. So guys, I have a couple minutes that I wanted to leave for questions before we talk about how to get here and all of that fun stuff. So what kind of questions do you guys have for me? So one I always get from people, from kiddos, is what's the worst injury I've ever seen in my career? And honestly, it was so gross and it was so bloody. But we were covering field hockey, which we don't really have a lot of here, but it's a really hard ball that's not supposed to come off the ground above a person's knee. And basically the field hockey ball came up and it hit the girl behind her ear and she was wearing earrings like she wasn't supposed to. And that field hockey ball grabbed onto the earrings and basically ripped her ear off. It was hanging by just a little bit of skin here. Now I've seen broken bones through the skin. I have seen teeth in other people that have come out of one person's mouth and another person's hand. I have seen some gross stuff, but an ear hanging on by the front piece was gross. What other questions might you guys have? I should have asked the questions before I gave you the tape. I know, rookie move, rookie move.
I have a question. So when would they use the tape? So now that they know how to tape, is that before to prevent an injury or is that after an injury?
It's actually, that's a great question. It's actually both. We might utilize it just to keep and provide some support for that patient as they go out. So if you think about like a football lineman, if they're gonna go out and be pushing on somebody, we might prevent that extension of the wrist. But a lot of times we use tape both at the beginning part and then as they go back and return to play.
So I have one because I'm a trainer at Bethel, I'm a football trainer, and every day after practice we do an ice bath. And is that to prevent cramps or to like help the cramps I already have? I really don't know.
So that's a great question. So obviously it's super duper hot out right now, right? And we want to prevent heat illness. And so what we can do is obviously hydration. We're going to monitor the heat outside, but a cold tub actually decreases their body temperature in a fast but safe manner. And so it's just trying to get that body temp after exercise back to that 98.6 piece. But it's also, if you do have somebody who's having heat cramps, they definitely have to go into the tub and they need to have lots and lots of water. What other questions do you guys have?
Hi, I was curious if you see a lot of hip injuries because I do competitive dance and we have a lot of girls at my studio who will do weird things to their hips. So I was curious if you've seen a lot of those types of injuries.
Yeah, so that's another great question. So each sport or activity kind of has its own injuries that you're predisposed to. And with dance, what we see a lot of foot injuries and we do see a lot of hip. right? Because a lot of times you're standing on one leg, you're dancing on one leg, you're jumping around, and it's just a lot of impacts on the hip joint. Now, things that we can do to prevent them, obviously we want to get that range of motion back. We want to have really good technique, and we want to try our best to kind of not land awkwardly, but obviously you can't prevent that the whole time. But yeah, we do see a lot of hip stuff with our dancers and our cheerleaders. What other questions?
What advice would you have to someone who's in maybe middle or high school and now who's looking to maybe go into exercise science or sports medicine?
Sure. I think the first thing I recommend is making sure you find your passion with the science piece, because as much as you don't think about it, anatomy is a huge part of being in sports medicine and exercise science. Physics is a big part of it. And so being prepped and ready to go with the science components of that, I think a lot of students don't recognize that piece. Keep doing what you guys are doing now and being passionate about it. But really it's exposure, getting out there and trying to be around a variety of different sports medicine professionals, a bunch of different types of athletic trainers and clinicians and everything else in that regards. I think seeing what people do is a lot better than even just talking about it. Going out and asking those questions and exploring those different fields. Because like I said, I thought, yeah, I knew I wanted to go into medicine to help people, but until I met an athletic trainer, I didn't really know what the word was of the field that I wanted to enter into. And so it took me talking to a physician and a PT and an OT to really know athletic training, that's where my passion is. All right. Other questions for you guys? Well, I know we had said about an hour, so you guys had, oh, yep. What question?
Whenever you first started, have you ever like vomited?
Have I ever vomited when I saw stuff?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know what? You get really good really quick to have a really calm, cool face inside, and inside your brain and inside your belly is going, right? Because like the time that I saw the girl get her ear ripped off, I was in college. It was in my first year of being an athletic training student, right? So I've learned that I have a really cool game face, even though like everything in my brain is going all over the place. But you do see some weird stuff. And if you do kind of feel a little awkward, you just take a breath. And if you have to, you take a walk away and you come back, right? Because our goal, being empathetic, is we want to make sure that our patient is calm, cool, and collected. Because they're having their worst day. So we need to be the calming presence when that happens. But you do see some pretty gross stuff. But then you get a sense of humor and you send videos to each other and say, hey, did you check out this video? Look at this. All right. So I know you guys had like a 30 minutes to talk about preparation. And so thank you guys again for letting me come and talk to you. Hopefully one of these days we can do one of these in person, because I love coming to you guys. It's a lot more fun than me talking. But we can put we can work on some hands-on skills and things of that sort. But I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I, yesterday, if you're on the call with us, you remember that we introduce our team here at the CPN Department of Education. And today, Matt, who you met yesterday, is going to talk just a little bit about some different, Dr. Volberding was talking a little bit about that she got her PhD and then she got her bachelor's degree. So Matt's going to kind of break down what each of those degree types mean, and how long they take and how you can prepare for them.
All right. First thing I'd like to say before I share the screen and all of those things is we talk about these 3 degrees very briefly, because I don't want to hold you up too long, because I know it's been a long day already, is you don't need to remember all the details of all of these things. I know you guys some of you are pretty young, so it's going to be a few years before you really start settling in on what kind of a degree you may want or what kind of a career you're looking at. The important thing to remember is to ask people who are knowledgeable. Ask your high school counselor. Come to CPN Education Department. We have several people on staff who can really help you kind of find the best pathway to move forward with whatever your career choice is, and hopefully help you find that as well. So I prepared a brief PowerPoint that I'm going to show. I don't want to kill you with death by slide. But just real quickly, what we're talking about, types of the 3 typical types of degrees for most of the occupations that we've seen or will see this week. Types of degrees are the associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. Now that's a lot for you guys to consume all at once, but I'm going to try to break it down in real simple terms. Speaking specifically to the state of Oklahoma, 2-year degrees, or pardon me, associate's degree is typically a 2-year degree from a junior college or a community college. Those are the typical terms we use for those. 2-year public colleges in Oklahoma. They're located pretty well all over the state.
Hey Matt, are you sharing your screen? You may have to reshare it because I can't see it.
Okay, well, let me go back then. Is that sharing now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay. All right. So, boom, boom, boom. Okay. How's that? Better? Okay, good. Again, technology. All right. Types of degrees. We'll just start over. Associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree are the 3 primary degrees that we've talked about and we'll talk about over the coming week. Associate's degree is a 2-year degree, typically from a junior college or a community college, is a lot of times what we refer to those institutions as. The graphic I have up here showing the state of Oklahoma. These are our public 2-year institutions in the state of Oklahoma. They're primary locations. Some of them actually have branches that are in different places. If you kind of look over to the eastern edge of the state, I've got a big green star there. That's actually the one private institution that I have up here, because that's the College of the Muskogee Nation, and it is a 2-year institution. It's important for our Native students, though, to be aware of that institution because they do offer some good rates, particularly for Muskogee Creek students who can go there free. And it is a fully accredited institution within our state, and definitely worth looking into if they have a program that may be something you're interested in. Bachelor's degrees are 4-year degrees, typically from a university. That's kind of the defining difference between a university and a college, is the type of degree. These are our public universities that have both bachelor's and master's degrees in the state of Oklahoma. Again, they're located all over the state. My 2 big stars, the awful red one and then the Texas orange. I'm sorry, OSU, my PowerPoint would only do those. So it's not crimson for OU, and it's not the brightest orange in America either for OSU, but those represent our 2 large research universities, public research universities And at those two large universities, because of the size they are, you can get almost any kind of master's degree and several PhD degrees as well from those. All of our four-year institutions outside of that, at what we call our regional colleges, do offer some kind of a master's degree, or pardon me, yes, a master's degree, as well as the bachelor's degree. Master's degree is after you've completed a bachelor's degree, and it's typically an additional 2 or 3 years after a bachelor's degree. Like we just spoke about, it's at universities. One of the things about a master's degree, you can sometimes do them a little faster than that time period, depending on how many classes you can take, etc. Some people spread that out a little because they've received their bachelor's degree and maybe they're working now, and so they're only going back to school part-time. But if you were going full-time, typically 2 or 3 years would take care of that master's degree. I think one of the main things to talk about when you look at the different kinds of degrees are what you're looking for as a career. And when we talked initially about the associate's degrees, you know, whatever degree you're planning on pursuing, there's a college or university near you that'll fit your needs. 2-year degrees may be all you need for whatever your career goal is. So an associate's degree may be all you really need to pursue initially. Maybe later on you want to expand that and get a bachelor's degree. Some of the associate's degrees really lend themselves as kind of a stepping stone to a bachelor's degree. So don't overlook our community colleges and 2-year institutions and an associate degree. Even if your ultimate goal is a bachelor's or a master's degree, they're still a good place to start. Also, with a bachelor's degree, and a lot of people start thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend my entire life in college, you know, and maybe you hear about a career on here that requires a master's degree. You can typically still get your start in whatever you're passionate about with a bachelor's degree, and then perhaps work on that master's degree later or part-time as you're a working adult. Most of us that have gone to college, yeah, we did reach a point where we were really tired of going to college and ready to get out, but then a lot of us ended up going back to school for additional degrees later because we saw the opportunity to expand what we wanted to do or to do something that was more specific to what we were really interested in. And I think that's what you're looking at when you're looking at a degree type is, you know, what do I really want to do? You know, and again, and you'll hear people on here all week who will talk about doing what you're passionate about. You find your passion, you find what you're really interested in. Number one, you don't then mind going to school for that, and you certainly won't ever mind working in that career field as well. So that's what typically college is all about. Again, the 3 degrees, associate's, bachelor's, or master's degree, all of those are degrees that you can find a career path in, and you can find an institution somewhere close to you in the state of Oklahoma. And of course, don't overlook, like Charles spoke about yesterday, don't overlook going out of state if that's what you want to do. Maybe you do want to go far from home to go to college. You can do that. Also, because of online learning now, it doesn't have to be an institution right near you to have that program. You could actually do quite a bit of your degree work at home, and in some instances, all of your degree work from home and online. So there are lots of options available for degree pursuing now. And again, I think the main thing is finding out what you're passionate about, what you would like to learn about, what kind of degree is best going to suit you, and then seeking advice from people who have expertise in that. Either your high school counselor, someone from our Department of Education, or someone from an admissions department in a college can also help you a lot once you've narrowed those choices down. So that's all I wanted to cover. It's not real complicated. But again, as you get a little closer to that and you want some help, be sure to contact us. If you have any questions, we'll certainly try to answer them now. If not, I'll turn it back over to Tasha.
I sent out today to all of you some materials from OSU's athletic training degree pathways, because Matt's talking about bachelor's degrees and master's degrees, and typically those take 4 years for your bachelor's and then another 2 or 3 years for your master's. But OSU has an accelerated pathway that you might check out where you can actually do both your bachelor's and your master's within 5 years. So you kind of are taking both of those bachelor's degrees and those master's degrees classes at once. So if you have something that you're interested in, especially for some of you that are getting close to applying to college right now, you might think about, how can I do what I want and, you know, maybe do it quicker, maybe for less money. So that's something that you have those resources, and there are other degree pathways that are similar where they're accelerated like that. So that just is something to think about. All right, are there any questions about anything about athletic training, about college and career? All right. You have our contact info there in the chat box. So we are happy to work with Potawatomi students, non-Potawatomi students, non-native students, anybody who wants to talk about what's next after high school or going back to school of any kind. So you can email us, you can call us. We would be happy to work with you. Other than that, tomorrow we will be looking at Indigenous health. So we have another gentleman from OSU who will be talking about both kind of Indigenous doctors now, and then some different plants and other medicines that you could use to heal you. So make sure you look at your sheet that you got, and there's activities that you're going to do tonight to prepare for tomorrow, or tomorrow during the day before tomorrow's session. So make sure you get a chance to look through those. Let's see. One of them is going to be going into your yard or local area and finding a plant to take a picture of it so that you can talk about what properties that plant has and seeing if it actually can be used as medicine. So you might do that while you've got some time this afternoon. Otherwise, don't forget to send in your sheet with a takeaway. Tell us one thing you learned today. That'll get you in the running for a drawing. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Dr. Volberding, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, everybody.
Goofy. All right, Braden, I'm logging off.
Bye,
Okay.
Bye, Tasha.
Bye.